world, but it is big business. It's a $150 billion industry.
Wow. Welcome everyone to today's episode. Today's guest is Jennifer Keltner, and she is an executive director of Freedom. She is the founder of Rescue Party Give, and I know you're going to want to stay tuned, and you're also going to want to take notes of how you can be a part of bringing freedom to the lives of many women who are caught in the snares of human trafficking, and just really those who are trying to help rescue them. So without further ado, Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you as well. Before we get into talking about Rescue Party Give, what does executive director of Freedom mean, and how did that come about? I love how you told me about how that came into about, because I think that speaks a little bit about the transition of how you got into doing what you're doing today.
So a couple years ago, I was in the transitions phase. And so I was with a networking group of job seekers. And everyone and we were all supposed to give a little quick introduction to ourselves every day, 2 minutes. What do you want? And so everyone was always like, this is what my role was. And so for myself, I used to work in corporate travel and meeting services. That's my background. I have a lot of industry background in the travel industry.
Okay.
And so I kept, that was what I was. That's where I was. And, that's kind of like, is that my identity? I wasn't sure, but I kept writing my new opportunity. What was I looking for? And while everyone else was writing VP of this and executive this, I kept writing executive director of Freedom. And that, when I would stand up and present and I would start sharing this whole idea and the concept of the nonprofit that I envisioned starting, I would just speak. And I've had friends, within that group that just said, I just loved how you shared, because you were so free in this conversation about what my next step would be, what my next journey would be. And so that's how executive director of Freedom, I just kept writing it. And then I thought, you know what, I want to put that on my business card.
What brought you to the place where you are today? Like, how did you start this nonprofit?
I would say it's almost an idea of following your dreams. So in that essence of like, I spent a lot of time, I think for me, it was very interesting. I moved to Texas about 4 years ago. And I moved because my company had moved our headquarters. But that was the time that I actually was there to take care of my mother, and I was her guardian, and I knew that there was not that much left time on earth for her. But I will be honest, I was running from God more than I was listening to him. And so it took me getting to Texas and finding faith, finding a church family that I could connect with, and just some amazing support that I was getting. And so for me, this journey and this opportunity to create a nonprofit, I didn't even think that's what I was doing. While I was working in the corporate environment, I'd spent about 10 years volunteering my time addressing this issue of human trafficking. And it was really because my family member, my brother-in-law, left his law partnership about 12 years ago. And he took his whole family to Bolivia to fight against child violence. And I was like, what is this issue? But when I started to get involved in really understanding it, so much of my heart, so much of my volunteer time was looking at opportunities to raise awareness. And so I used my expertise, my background, my corporate travel and meeting industry background to participate in volunteering time and doing events, supporting different nonprofits that I was aware of doing this work. And so that's how it kind of came about for me.
Wow.
the dream, again, like I said, of the actual event that I first hosted, well, that came about in kind of a hard, like, I actually thought as I left the corporate world that I was going to go and be able to work at all, a nonprofit that I would choose that would be fighting against human trafficking. Every door that I went through, it just like it closed. It was like I would get information like they wouldn't even grant me an interview. They would say, you know what, you don't have a track record for raising $1 million. Or I would be told, you know what, you come from a corporate background and you're so successful, you're going to want too much money. And I'm like, wow, no one's ever talked to me about like really what that meant. So I felt the Lord just sharing with me, you're going to do this on your own. So I was doing a lot of, for another organization, they were hosting rescue parties and you were doing events in your home. You were bringing community together. But when I created Rescue Party Give, it was more of the idea that the Lord told me, you're going to have other people give their talent. And so it was not only, it was like Rescue Party Give is almost like 3 words, like rescue the mind and addressing the issue that this is a big mental health issue. And the party meant, gathering people together. And the giving part was having other people give their talent. So it was a very interesting.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you there. I was just going to say, so just for our viewers, just so they understand, so the rescue party was not necessarily designed for those who you were rescuing out of human trafficking, was it? Maybe can you clarify that?
Yeah, I will clarify. So I believe, and here's how I have seen what's going on in the world. There are so many nonprofits out there. And they're doing really good work. But I see this issue of human trafficking as maybe because of my background in the corporate world, but it is big business. It's a $150 billion industry.
Wow.
And so my thought is, taking it from a business perspective, we have to look at it from a supply and demand. How do we reduce the supply and demand? Because we won't have enough places to house all these people being rescued. So I think the Lord led on my heart that my group, my nonprofit, was more about raising awareness. So we've kind of just changed our vision, mission statement. One of my board members and I were working on a very simple way to share what we do. But we are going to raise the global awareness of human trafficking, one campaign at a time.
Wow. So can you just break that down even finer here? When you say that human trafficking is really like a business, you want people to see it as a business. How does that play out? What do you mean? Just again, for the simplicity of just breaking that down so people understand, how do people make money when it comes to human trafficking?
Well, human trafficking, as it is a $150 billion industry, is it is a business which, sadly, people are selling humans. And the ease of getting into the business is very easy. All you need to do is acquire individuals and enslave them. And that's what human traffickers have done in the world. But it is, when I say it's big business, it's at all levels, right? So it's not just, when you think of human trafficking, many people think of human trafficking as only happening in poor countries. It really is everywhere. And, I just went to Texas actually to speak because I was asked to come in and talk. And, I share that in Texas, there are over 400,000 people being trafficked and 80,000 of them are children.
Wow.
Think of the numbers. It is actually a lot higher. There are about 8 million children that are being trafficked today globally.
Wow.
Just, it breaks my heart to hear, to know that these, and that's just a statistic, the International Labor Organization.
That they know.
Yeah. Right. $150 billion industry. And again, it's such an easy business to get into. And it's been supported from the corporate level. So when I share, this is the hard part, this is, for me, having my background in corporate America has made me realize how this has just been going on for a long time. For
Mm-hmm.
example, when you think of the movie Pretty Woman,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It was a glorification of prostitution. But the fact is, many people would look the other way. You've got a business that wants to make profit, makes money, so that they're not going to question their guest if their
Right.
guest is bringing in a prostitute, for example. I had a situation that, as I've been sharing this and talking about this for a long time, I had someone, young meeting planner, share with me, because everyone's heard the story that the NFL Super Bowl is the largest day for human trafficking. It's become a big
Mm-hmm.
conversation. I had this young girl come up to me, a meeting planner, and tell me that she had to, received a phone call, and she was supposed to escort these women up to the suite of a soft drink manufacturing company. And when she did that, she knew what she was doing. She felt very uncomfortable. She knew who these women were, but it was her job. She didn't want to lose her job. That it was only until they called her a second time and said, what was I, they called her and they said, basically, we want you to bring us the fresh ones. We want you to remove these women and we want you to bring us the fresh ones. So therefore she knew, she finally stepped up and said, no more, I'm not doing this. But, she was willing to finally at that point lose her job over this.
Yeah.
But how many other people are not willing to say anything in this situation? When I did my very first event, which we're going to show the video of, I raised an amazing amount that evening, and I gave it all away to another nonprofit because I wasn't a 501c3 yet. And for me, that was a little bit, that's okay. My heart was like, you know what, it'll be okay. Money never the.
Sorry, just to interrupt you for 1 second. So for those who are not American, a 501c is basically the number for a charity in the United States.
As soon as I finished the event and I knew how important it was and how successful it was, that I needed to go ahead and establish myself as a business, as a nonprofit in the US. And so what I did, but what I was going to share was, I also, from that event, American Airlines donated 4 tickets to the Dominican Republic. And I used those tickets at a separate event to bring people to the Dominican Republic to see what human trafficking was like.
Wow.
So there were people that won those tickets during that event, of my first event. And so I took them and escorted them because I myself wanted to go see. And one of the things that I will share, and this is again why it is big business, why it breaks my heart, to a courtroom, and we got to hear this man share when he was asked why he did this, why did he traffic these children? His response was, what was I supposed to do with all my money?
Wow.
So for me, again, as much as I spend time in my Bible, and as much as I just listen to the Lord and feel what is he sharing with me, there's so many passages that I read about the choices we make, right? And what's important. Are you going to choose God or are you going to choose money? But you can't have both. And I do know that God, I think the thing about money is, can we use our money for good? And that's what I would like to believe in the world we could start doing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that is eye-opening for many to know $150 billion
industry. $150 billion industry.
That is,
it's the size of Walmart, and when you look at how big it is as a business and how far-reaching it is a global issue.
And from what I hear you saying as well, and just to bust some of those myths out there, that it's not primary. Yes, it is in the lower income bracket, in the impoverished areas, but it's very much alive in the higher echelons of society in terms of the rich and famous, in terms of trafficking and sustaining this industry. Is that right?
I think of when you look at the situations of the Harvey Weinsteins and the Jeffrey Epsteins, it is time for the awareness to get beyond we can no longer keep this a secret within organizations, right? And companies have to be more transparent, and they also have to be understanding that slavery is not right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. At any level, it's not right. So tell me, what did you, as you began to really learn more about this, and as God began to show you more about this in a different way, what are the steps that you decided or you felt like you were to take in order to help be an advocate and to help end this, or help to somehow break through this problem and bring freedom?
So I see this as our nonprofit is about creativity and arts and music and everything about. I don't want to focus on the darkness of this whole issue.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the light to it. So it's through music, it's through entertainment, it's through film. So we do share a lot. I just had the opportunity. We are headquartered in Dallas, Texas. Okay. I now live in Southern California. But for the last 90 days, I have gone to Texas twice, met with my board. I met with them, and we actually ended up, we went to the Dallas Holocaust Museum. And I have been for my, I don't know, I've always been fascinated for how this happened, how this situation of, and when you look at the Holocaust, it is how did this man, how was he able to turn and get all these people with him to enslave the Jewish people?
Yeah.
And it was a very sad thing. But when I went to this Holocaust museum, there was you walked up to this front level, and I think you were reading from Hitler's note, his journal, where he just wrote, as soon as we can get rid of the Jewish virus, we will all regain our health again.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, does this have messages for today? What does the Lord want me to do with this information? And then I also, at the very tail end of the Holocaust Museum, was this aspect of genocide, the 10 stages of genocide. And I think right now, God wants me to kind of shed the light on what's happening in our world about slavery. That said, so I came back from that trip to Dallas after seeing the Holocaust Museum, and I went to a used bookstore, and I was looking for this book, Who Moved My Cheese, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a business book that kind of is real simple, and I thought, I'm going to write something just like that, right? But I'm going to do it in a different way of shedding the light on this area of awareness. So I wanted to get a copy of it. So I go to this used bookstore, didn't find it. So if any of your, anyone can help get me a copy of Who Moved My Cheese, I just didn't want to, it's funny. It's like I've been trying to find it, and I wanted
I actually have it on audio.
I got to get it on audio, I think. So what happened was I go to this used bookstore, but this was meant to be.
Yes.
And I come across the Holocaust section. And when I'm there, I find this book. It was beautiful. It was in blue fabric, and in silver, it said, How to Survive Anything.
Wow.
So I looked at this book, I pulled it out, and you know what? I decided I had to buy it. So I bought the book. I came home. I read it in an afternoon. It's with David and Yetta Kane. And I realized that this book was not meant to be distributed for mass distribution. It was meant for family.
Wow.
And here this book was in my hands. And also what I read about this book, what I understood was that both David and Yetta Kane lived in Long Beach. They live here where I live.
Wow.
So I want to share with you, Lisa, this last Tuesday, I did a Zoom with this Holocaust survivor and with a girlfriend of mine in Albania who's also started a nonprofit to help young women in Albania. So she's 27 years old, and she has this as her life's work as well. But she also, the trauma that she experienced was when she was 4 years old, her family was smuggled out of Albania and into Greece because of the potential genocide, the attempted genocide of the Albanians. So I share in the Zoom session that there are three of us with different perspectives of this issue of human trafficking. But I felt very much so that I'm on a mission to kind of raise that awareness. So I am looking, and I'm going to be creating from this video that we did in Zoom. I'd love to create a documentary series.
Wow.
And I don't even know what that's, because that's not my background.
Powerful.
I have any involvement in, but I know that I need to.
Well, I can hook you up with someone who does that kind of stuff, actually.
I love that. And then
I'm actually writing it down right now, because they were in Hollywood doing a lot of stuff for a while, and now they're back in Canada, but this is their area in terms of helping to put together things like that and faith-based. So I'll make the connection, and where it goes, you can decide whatever. But if that's of interest to you.
I would love that. And then what's happening is, what we're doing is, so I was on a Toastmaster video yesterday, and the Lord has me in different places. It's pretty funny in what I share. So I did a Toastmasters to a group of people to share this issue of, kind of what I think of is happening in the genocide and human trafficking. And then I ended it with, I called my friend Yetta yesterday, and I said, look, I'm on Toastmasters, and I'm actually doing a conversation about mentorship and your mentor protege relationships. And I said, first, my mentor is Jesus Christ, as who I share. But I said, I want to talk to you, and I want to ask you if you could give a piece of advice to any of these individuals. What would you want me to share with them, with her background?
Yeah.
And what she said, she told me, believe in God no matter what.
Oh.
We are made in his image. We all have the same needs. We must stop this discrimination that's going on in this country right now. And we must make it special every day. And Yetta is 4'3", inches tall, and she's 88 years old. And when you look at her, I mean, I just feel so blessed to know her.
Wow.
She knows 7 languages. And when she came to the States in November 19th, 1949, she said she just learned 10 words every day. She talks about how important education is. And I will share, though, the funny part with me is I basically said my mentoring message to everyone, actually, though, comes from the book of Matthew. And it is basically for all of us to be the salt of the earth. And I began my Toastmasters presentation about asking everyone, who amongst you has seen the Chosen finale? Episode 8. And I kind of highlighted the whole conversation about Jesus being the mentor and Matthew his mentee, and that Jesus gave that whole mind dump and asked for clarity of, was I correct in what I was sharing with you, Matthew? And Matthew's like, well, I don't really get your metaphors, right? He goes, the salt of the earth? You are the salt of the earth? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And I loved how Jesus just shared, just 3 simple examples of the properties of salt, right? Yeah. That salt preserves meat from corruption, that we need to be the followers, that we hold back the evil from the world, and that salt enhances the flavor of things. So, our followers are to renew the world and be part of the redemption. I loved everything that was shown in The Chosen. And what I was trying to show them, I wanted to actually show them a video, that part of the video, 2 minutes, where Jesus said, you know what, I'm going to create a map. I'm going to create a map for them. And really the map was his people, his followers, his disciples.
That's good.
And so I was trying to show that, but everything that was meant to happen came against me in yesterday in Toastmasters. And even the person who evaluated me, which I thought was I knew this evaluation was not going to go well, but the woman just literally went, you know what? I don't know what you were talking about. You brought up the Bible. I don't read the Bible. I've never read it. And she goes, and I don't know this Jesus, right? And so she was trying to tell me, you should have introduced and all this stuff. So it was all coming at me, and I thought it was hysterical, Lisa. I did. I feel the Lord had me he always has me going up, like I feel like I'm a puppy and I go up to people and I start sharing and then I get kicked a little and I'm like, okay, well, that's just going to keep me going, the next.
I'm just going to go to the next word.
But
Wow. Well, it's a hot topic, and so some people react differently, and so I think you're just getting a taste of that, which is all the more reason why you need to keep doing what you're doing. I want to go back to something you said earlier, Jennifer. You said that it's an easy industry to get into.
Yes.
Human trafficking. What do you mean by that? Do you mean and I'm assuming it's girls, women, but I know there's probably young boys as well, or boys, but primarily it's a female. Do you mean in that regard actually being human trafficked, or also the business of being, benefiting from human trafficking?
I think, again, when I think of business and when I think about starting a business, you have to look at all the factors in terms of how to start a business, right? Are you going to start a brick and mortar business? Are you going to start a business that you can do on the internet? But when you look at businesses and how the ease of getting into the market, right? How much competition is there into the market? How much, from a business perspective, human trafficking is sadly very easy to get into. Like, all you need to do, you could be a man and all you need to have is one person. Drug dealers figured this out a long time ago, right? You sell a drug only once,
right?
But you sell a person over and over and over again.
Right.
A couple decades ago, when I saw this situation, it gets to the point when people don't look at other people as people, but as property. And so, how easy is it to enslave a young girl? You get her addicted on drugs. You get her, scare her. You give fear to her. You cultivate your victims in a way that it's very easy to do.
Yeah.
And then the demand side of this area. There is such a demand for women, young children, boys and girls. I mean, I've seen things and messages that, the younger the better. And in Asia and some countries, they sew up little girls to make them be like a virgin again.
Wow.
So there is a true sickness in the world. And you have to look at it from a demand and supply issue. And supply is very easy for these individuals to get. And the demand, to stop the demand, I think we have to look and focus on the family. And that's why I think, Lisa, I think I've joined KBA, Kingdom Builders Academy. And I think mostly I love it because I'm just getting more close to my alignment, for the alignment that I have. And I feel very strongly about helping parents and families build their children so that they are strong and not vulnerable.
Well, that's the whole other side to it, right? It's right. Doing that preventative aspect of it on the one end. On the other end is helping curb the demand for it and the supply, as well as just really rescuing those. So I love what you're doing, and this is obviously, like you said, there are many organizations do, and because the task is huge, but it's not impossible. And I think because of some of the exposures that have come out in the recent year, that there is a heightened awareness for people to understand, just like you said, that it is a big business. It is something that is very corrupt at levels that we would probably never have imagined, with even in government and places where there's so much going on that we're not aware of. So this is really helpful to help people to even heighten awareness, like you were sharing about that young event planner who found herself in that situation. There are situations that sometimes we just turn a blind eye to, or say, oh, okay, and don't realize, wow, there's something else going on here. And so to stop and pay attention and to do that. So I'm so excited. So we are going to show this video. Before we show the video, tell the viewers a little bit about what is it they're going to see. This was your first event, and what was this designed to do?
So this first event was designed to bring community together. And it wasn't, it wasn't a targeted audience. It was just, we put flyers out in the commercial area of the streets, and we just invited people to join us. It was a free event. We had all these restaurants and shop owners coming together. They all donated the food. It was amazing. And ranks and then we had, we had this musicians come, and they were Plans of Freedom. And then we showed film of what was going on in human trafficking.
Wow.
And we had the artists, they painted, we did live painting, and we auctioned off the painting. But most importantly too was just this event where American Airlines donated us 4 tickets. And we were able to auction that off. I think that's what helped us raise the money that we raised that evening. And we again gave it all to another charity. But the whole idea too was just raising that awareness in the community and getting more people to see that this problem is right here in the neighborhood that we live in. So again, this was in Texas. When I share in the US, I think number 1, the state that I'm in, is California. Number 2 is Texas, and number 3 is Florida. And it's the transportation corridor where they take people back and forth. So that's one of the things, that's what people will see.
Freedom, the ultimate journey. This is the purpose of Rescue Party Give. Its mission to explore various opportunities to increase awareness to fight against human trafficking, to seek out other nonprofits addressing this issue, and find new financial resources, sponsors willing to join the fight to end it, to boldly go where no man has gone before. The event went well because of the generous donations to the community sponsors, including American Airlines, who provided the complimentary tickets to the Dominican Republic to visit international justice missions, operations in the Dominican Republic. We were able to sign up many people to be Freedom Partners. We met the goal and hope to help other nonprofits on the front line fighting human trafficking in the future.
One thing that you mentioned to me that you shared at this event that was very personal for you. I'm wondering if you would mind sharing that with our viewers today.
Sure. It wasn't easy to have to share this information, but when I was 3 years old, I was sexually assaulted by a neighbor. And I was fortunate because my mother found me, and she grabbed me in her arms and ran away with me. And I think to myself, how many other children are not being rescued? How many people are not helping those individuals? But one thing also was very unusual about that situation is my mother finding me is that my mother had a lot of mental health issues most of my life. And so to me, it was very much a miracle that she came to my rescue.
Yeah.
Because she was never really present in my life as I felt through all the years. And that was something that I think very much so. I have a history within my family of mental health issues. My father had a strong depression that they almost lobotomized him. And this is, this is like what's going on in our society, but that's how I look to this issue of what's going on in human trafficking is a large mental health concern. And I think that's why the Lord also drove, that whole idea. The first aspect of Rescue Party Give is the word rescue, and it is rescue the mind.
Wow. And what's interesting about that story that you just said is you were 3 years old and how your mother rescued you and believed you and embraced, like, that there was a sense of validation of what was going on, whereas a lot of people, even when they do have the courage, for example, to reveal when there has been some violation sexually in their life at a young age, even if they try to tell a parent, they're often met with disbelief or just not being taken seriously, and the effect of that on their life, whether it be mentally, emotionally, and all different areas, can have lasting, long life effects. And so, for you, was that something that you were cognizant of throughout your whole life?
It was an incident that was very, I think, traumatizing for me. And I didn't actually think about it or realize it till I was starting the nonprofit that I was creating. And delving into it and thinking about it and praying to God of like, why am I so connected to this issue, right? Beyond the fact that my brother-in-law went off and, left this country and took my beloved nieces and nephews out of the country. And that was traumatic enough for me. But what other trauma did I have? And so realizing that trauma, but I was also protected. And that's where I feel like, to me, I didn't see that. But I'm sharing this because I've talked to a lot of women through the years as I've started this nonprofit, and so many corporate executive women and their abuses that they have sustained in their life. And so many that are not necessarily whole, or that are still dealing with their trauma and not necessarily dealing with it in a very healthy way. I've seen women that unfortunately have climbed the corporate ladder and successful, but they have no relationship beyond. They have this connection to physical goods and things like that, but they have no husband. They have no children of their own. The other thing that I've just heard recently, and exactly what you said, I've had probably 2 incidences I can share of this, that I had a girlfriend of mine who just shared that she goes, wow, I was a teenager before I realized that my own uncle was basically assaulting her. Like when he was bouncing her up and down on his lap as a toddler, that he was actually sexually getting his pleasure from this. And then when she realized as a teen, when she had a situation where he touched her in a very inappropriate way, and she ran home to her mother to let her mother know this was happening, her mother swore her to secrecy. I think this was her mother's brother. The mother said, do not tell your father. Wow. Because your father will probably be in jail. He will kill him. So it is what's going on in our society of the secrecy of this situation, and how culturally we've created very vulnerable children.
Yeah, it's so true. So
I think that's a lot of what I am sharing and spreading the light on as well. So yeah, and I have a couple other stories. I mean, I've had a friend of mine who was a pastor's daughter, and the family trusted another family with their kids, and so the kids were always hanging out together. They were, and her older brother at 7 was sexually assaulted by the older son in this group. Well, my girlfriend was assaulted by her brother because he knew he wasn't gay, but where else does a 7-year-old get a female?
Right.
And so he assaulted his young baby sister when she was 4 years old.
Yeah. And that's the importance of the work that you're doing with the families as well. It's just helping to bring awareness and healing in those areas, and prevention, so that there can be more protection of the children and more validation of valuing them as well, and just to break that silence and secrecy. Thank you so much.
I'd love to transition and share with you what we're doing now, with COVID and everything like that, not being able to host events. It was one of those decisions that I was like praying about, what's the next step? And we just launched on February 14th. We launched a campaign, a T-shirt campaign that says, "You're not alone." And we have this beautiful love sign, but so what happened was in January is National Human Trafficking Awareness Month in the U.S. And it's like 1 month. And I'm thinking to myself, why is this issue only being addressed 1 month? And I thought, do I really even want to get in that space and try to compete with all the other nonprofits that are trying to raise the awareness in this 1 month? And so I launched this program on February 14th. I basically decided to capture a Hallmark holiday in the US and decided, you know what, I'm launching this campaign. We printed 144 t-shirts, sent all of them out. I was thinking I wanted to sell them, but I decided to send them out into the universe. Basically, we sent as many shirts. Our board just decided in every state we tried to send a t-shirt. And the whole objective, I don't know how many of the viewers have watched Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, but the movie where, these young girls, each one of them wore the same pair of pants and they went on an adventure. So this is the program. It's called Trek of the Traveling T-shirts. And the whole idea is that this t-shirt needs to go on a journey, but people are to wear that shirt and highlight what is going on in their town, their city about human trafficking. And go ahead and use social media, take video, do whatever you want, and we share that. And people can go ahead and post on our site. Tell us, share with us the photos that you're doing. And our photos have gotten all the way to Switzerland. They've gotten to Albania. They've gotten to Mexico. I want these t-shirts to go around the world. And I want people to be more emboldened and aware. I'm looking for corporate sponsorships. So I was able to get BCD Travel to sponsor. I am in discussions with Ontario Airport. So I'm hoping he shared with me. I need to get back with him, but he shared with me that he would buy 1,000 t-shirts and he would sell them there.
Wow.
But the whole idea for me is to raise awareness.
Yeah.
So this is the little thing that we're doing right now, but it's one of those things that I want to see grow. And I wanted to take off like an ALS, campaign, like the water bucket campaign. I just think, why can't a t-shirt go out there and help people? And I think, I've gotten some feedback from some individuals that aren't believers. And when I get that, it's funny, the messages are like, well, it sounds kind of creepy. And I'm like, and so this is for my atheist board member, and I'm laughing because God has me on, bringing all these people together. But, I just said, well, it's really meant to kind of highlight that there is God and he's there, right? He's everywhere in what we do in our steps and he's watching. So the whole idea behind the shirt too is I know that there's more than just a situation of a person being a victim. There is situations where someone is out to perpetrate this crime. Yeah. And the concern that it's like, I want people to see it. I want people to know that other people are concerned over this issue. And so think again what you're going to do. That's kind of the whole idea behind You Are Not Alone of this campaign. And I hope it saves a life. I hope the goal is to save a life through this program. I just gave it to my new friend Yetta, the Holocaust survivor, and she and I are going to go on take photos on Tuesday.
Fantastic! Send one to Canada for me, and we'll do it here.
I would love it.
That's so good. So tell me when you do now, because I'm sure the next time you do the fundraiser, it's going to go to your organization to fund what you're doing, which obviously you have a heart and a passion for this. What are some of the ways that, or do you, maybe you can talk to me, is it just for the fundraising for other organizations that you feel like you're called to do? Is that kind of the primary focus for you?
So thank you for that, because we are switching our gears a little too, because I thought, well, is that model, like my team and I said, well, if we're raising money for all these other nonprofits, why would they not just go to those nonprofits and start giving to them? So the goal is, as we said, is if we're raising awareness one campaign at a time, the whole idea is that's what we're raising funds for. We want to raise enough funds so that we can continue to be invited, speak at different places, and engagement. I'm hoping that, again, my background, I want to be able to talk to a lot of associations. And so young meeting planners, there's big associations for the meeting planning industry.
Yes.
To be invited. But to also be invited, in some respect, I would have to become a sponsor of the event itself.
Right.
Because
a butterfly flight.
That was not a butterfly.
Oh.
It was that was a June bug or something big.
Wow, it was big. Yeah.
Sorry about that. That's what happens outside in nature.
Nature. That's exactly it. This is real.
It's a real one. So so it's interesting because I think the the goal right now, as much as I can turn around these T-shirts, we printed the first batch. The goal is to get corporate sponsors for them, to sell them on our website. We actually, I think I included the link for you.
Yeah.
Right to our link to order T-shirts. So if your viewers were able to order T-shirts and share this message and interested in becoming corporate sponsors, that would be great. We are also joining. Yes.
So that's rescuepartygive.org, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so yeah, it's going on the bottom of the screen here. So you can go there, you can purchase your own T-shirts, you can give to the organization to support the work that Jennifer and her team are doing to raise the awareness of this industry, which is causing, it's causing a lot of damage, a lot of corruption, and it actually has to be stopped.
It does. From this day forward, you can choose to look the other way, but you cannot say that you did not know. This is a problem of biblical proportion.
Yeah.
It is one that has my heart in terms of wanting to protect as many children as I can. And yeah, there's so many people that need to look at what they're doing in their life and realizing, are they part of the problem or are they going to be part of the solution?
That's so good. Yes, scripture that's coming to mind, somewhere in Proverbs, can't remember the exact passage, but it talks about, to be a voice for those who don't have a voice, for those who are being dragged away to slaughter, which is exactly what's happening here for our brothers and sisters in mass proportion, and we can't stand by and let this happen. So I just want to urge our listeners, if you have been touched in any way, if you have been provoked in any way, that over this message and over what's happening, this $150 billion industry of taking advantage of other humans, really enslaving other humans to do things that are beyond their control, that they should not be subjected to, then I want to urge you to go to rescuepartygive.org, support Jennifer and her work, have her in to speak at your organization, at your event that you're having, invite her to be a sponsor, to be able to bring awareness at every level, because the more people know about it, the more we can band together and cover the globe in this area and just really see human trafficking come down in our lifetime. And I believe we can, with the help of the Spirit of God, the wisdom and the resources that we have from heaven that gives us what we need, just like in biblical times where things that seemed impossible came crumbling down. I believe the same can happen here, just like the communist wall came down that time. This is a wall of bondage and slavery that needs to come down, along with other ones as well. But this is one that we're talking about today. So Jennifer, thank you so much for answering the call of God for you to go.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Gratitude to you for having me on your channel. I think it's just, again, it's been an amazing opportunity. So thank you.
You're most welcome. Today, I want to encourage you to go to rescuepartygive.org and look at what Jennifer's doing and her team, and really get involved. See how you can get involved. If nothing else, to give, to buy a t-shirt, to find out what's happening in your city so that you can become aware and be a part of the solution instead of the silent majority who are just standing by allowing this to happen.